beginning of the month, middle of the month, you are going to have this excruciating pain. So I'm trying to imagine how many days beginning of the month, how many days middle of the month when you have. Thank you so much for joining us. We are just going to run this. It's the new Checkup Health page. It's the first time we haven't been on Facebook forever. So we are going to have a good time discussing women's health. It's the Women's Month this month. And we are just going to have really a good conversation. And I'm joined here with Zelda. So maybe Zelda, you introduce yourself and then I'll introduce myself.
My name is Zelda Ackerman. I'm based in South Africa, but I have the privilege and the honor to be working with Fungi on Checkup Health and just helping with all the marketing administrative side and learning so much. And I'm very excited to be a part of this project. And I hope that we all learn something tonight and that we can open a dialogue and feel comfortable speaking about things that are not comfortable overall.
Exactly. And I think it's those topics that we don't discuss really, I think in the day and age that we are now living, that we must be talking about. Absolutely important. And being as it's Women's Month, we thought let's kind of talk with things that we wouldn't have wanted to discuss or talk about in our everyday life. We want to talk all lady stuff here today, and feel comfortable to send us your comments. You can DM us after the call. You can use the page to share your thoughts, share your messages, share any topics that you're going to want me to be involved in. I am hoping we will be able at least to have a conversation on Facebook once a month. For me, once a month is going to be practical. The focus at the moment is health. And we are going to be bringing all topics and all things that affect our everyday living and our health. And being as it's been COVID-19, we've been impacted so bad, I'm desperately needing to be out there. But I can't. I've been stuck in this house forever. So this is the only way that we are connecting. So yeah. Okay, so today's topic, we want to talk about women's health. And we are excited to be living, in such a time like this, 2021, where we are empowered women, and we have a lot of women who are professionals, a lot of women who are doing it all, who are being moms, aunts, sisters, you name it. And then they're also sitting in the big positions. We have got, for the first time, a vice president woman. So I think we should be having these candid conversations, because women, while we are doing all these things, there are natural things that come with our bodies that sometimes feel like they are slowing us down. And for me, I want us to start having these conversations, because I remember, and I'm always saying this, I find myself sitting in a boardroom full of testosterone and probably the same one woman sitting in that room. And maybe not only the woman, but maybe only the Black woman, and maybe only the Black person. And so sometimes, the challenges are real, and you are going through a really difficult time because of womanhood, but you're not able to share and talk about these things because people around you, anybody, will not understand. And never mind that, when you come home, you get home, and being African, nobody is not going to understand the hats that you've been wearing all day in those high heels. And you are expected to then still be the mom, the aunt, the sister. So guys, the struggles are real and I can relate to them. So so today we just chose one topic, and I want us to really drill down on that topic. And it's all about women's health, but this time around, speaking about endometriosis. So yeah, we have got to do it. We have got to discuss. And to be honest with you, when I was having a discussion with a group of women some months back, I was absolutely shocked by some of the things that these women have had to put up with, or to pretend, or to do, because they don't want anybody to know that they have these kind of conditions. Yet we don't choose, no endometriosis, nobody chooses to have it, number one. And number two, it's not written on your face or anywhere that you have it. And number three, it's an emotive topic because it affects a lot of areas of your life as an individual. So some women I know, they are not able to go to work certain days of the month because they can't go to work with the pains and everything that they're going through. Yet everybody else in the workplace, everybody else at home, they will never understand what you're going through. So it becomes a kind of a scene where you're a drama queen, or you're always pretending, or you are doing this. So I just really want us to talk about these things and make them normal, so that we can, maybe all of us have awareness. And it could be that some of us are not even aware that these conditions exist. And so, yeah, conversation. Yeah, Zelda, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think, excuse me, education is so important, because education is power. When you've got the knowledge and you understand certain things, you have wisdom, and I think also empathy towards other people. And especially if you're going through something and you take the time and you are brave enough to speak about it and to ask for help, um, then you can empower yourselves and empower other women. Because obviously, our cultures are different, our religions might be different. So in every family life or personal life, you're facing different things. But how am I going to be a support system to you, Fungai, if I don't know what your culture is, or if I don't know what you're going through as a woman, and I don't understand, something that you might be facing? And I think it's so important that us as women, regardless of all the differences, should stand together, and we should create a safe space where we can speak about these things, to know that you are normal. We all are going through something. It might not look exactly the same, it might not be the same health issue, but at the end of the day, we are all human beings, all with our own struggles. And the more we speak about it, the more we can help each other as well. And I think that's so important. I think in the world that we live in today, everything is so fast paced, even with COVID. I think people have forgotten how to really speak to each other. And I think a lot of people have shame, or thinking I'm the strong, independent woman, and I'm a mother and I'm a wife, and I can't afford to be ill, or I can't afford to be in pain. And at the end of the day, if you look after yourself as a woman, you're going to be a better mother, you're going to be a better businesswoman, you're going to be a better wife. You see which order I put it in there, mother, only because I'm a mom. But I mean, if it's other way around, you can be a better businesswoman if you're just a businesswoman and that's your passion. So I really, really think it's important that we can create platforms where we can speak to each other, because I want to understand.
Absolutely brilliant. And I think what I done as well when we were building up to this conversation, I kind of posted on my Instagram, because I really wanted people to give us their experiences, what they have experienced or what they have felt, or the journeys they have walked. So what I've done, I have done a few slides, and they are not going to be many, because we need to keep the conversation interesting and going. But I just want us to look at some official statistics. What interests me about these topics, what really is driving the conversations, or what got us started, was I have gotten involved with the project, which is Checkup Health. Checkup Health is a project of one of our companies, the Flame Lily Healthcare, which focuses on creating healthcare solutions. And so one of the projects that I got started myself involved was when the pandemic started, and I started to feel like I needed to be part of the conversations and to be part of what's going on. And so we started focusing on chronic diseases, and we have honed in the chronic diseases and nailed them and narrowed them to focus on hypertension, diabetes. But what's amazing is that when we have been focusing on hypertension, diabetes, we have realized that actually there are other underlying conditions. And so other underlying conditions that are linked actually to these problems, also in the same pot for women, endometriosis. And we're going to see how it links back to some of these things, and how people may end up having those conditions when they really shouldn't have been having them. Okay, so endometriosis is a condition in which tissues similar to the lining inside the uterus, called the endometrium, is found. Outside the uterus, where it includes chronic inflammatory reaction that may result in scar tissue. It is primarily found on the pelvic peritoneum, on the ovaries, in the rectovaginal septum, on the bladder, and the bowel. And in very rare cases, it has been found on the diaphragm and in the lungs. Now, I want to pause here and say that, guys, just to be clear, I'm not a doctor. So there is my disclaimer. Zelda is not a doctor. There is our disclaimer, but I'm a nurse by profession. So I am familiar with the topic, and I'm familiar with the discussion that we're going to have, because healthcare has been my space. I've been a nurse for 20 years. So I'm a nurse and an entrepreneur. right? However, the conversations we are going to have here doesn't necessarily mean that we are informing you or we are telling you. This is basically for the purpose of chatting. If you find yourself having to need medical help or healthcare support, I would encourage you, if you're in the UK, to make sure you contact your GP and you are supported via your GP network. And if at all you need any other support, the NHS is your website to go to. In other countries, I'm sure you will know what protocols in your countries to follow. This conversation is genuinely for us to have a chat. And so I have put at the bottom of my information where the link where we found the information, and we are using the information from endometriosis.org. So that's just for your information. Now, these are the facts and figures. Facts and figures, believe it or not, these facts are true, which means in every 10 women that you know, one of them has got endometriosis. Have you ever thought of it that way? Have you ever actually stopped and thought that 1 in every 10 women that I know, which means whatever number we have on the live, 1 of every 10 has got it. And it affects during the reproductive years, between 15 to 49 mainly, and imagine in the whole world, 176 million women in the world has this condition. Have you ever thought about it? That's why it's important that we must talk about it, right?
It's shocking, actually, to think about how many people or how many women have it. It's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah. And also imagine that it starts as early as a girl's first period. Now, let's pause there for a moment. Nowadays, I've known young girls as young as 8 years old having their first period. And mums and girls on the call, anybody, sisters, have you ever thought that your little one could actually be having endometriosis when they are suffering or complaining of pains and aches? No, we don't think about this condition because it's not spoken about. And it says that it may not resolve the symptoms of endometriosis, especially if the woman has scar tissue or adhesions from the disease or from surgery. And the symptoms of endometriosis include, now I want you to pay attention to the symptoms, painful periods. That means a young girl as young as 8 can start to have periods, number 1, and when they are having those periods, they are excruciatingly painful, and they will have painful ovulation. And then those who are sexually active will have pain during or after sexual intercourse. They will have heavy bleeding, chronic pelvic pain, fatigue. That means tiredness. They are tired all the time. And when they tell you that they are tired, you think they are being drama queens. They may also struggle with infertility, and can impact on general physical, mental, and social well-being. These 176 million women that are not spoken about, that are living in the shadows, that 1 in every 10 of us here right now has got this situation, yet we are not aware that this condition exists. We are not aware of these symptoms that these people might be experiencing. So can you imagine the impact? And this is exactly why we must talk about it. So when somebody, now, I was going to pause right there and think about that young girl who lives in a household of 10 people and she's the key person to be washing the dishes, running around and doing this. And when she can't do it that day, she can't necessarily tell you that she's in pain and she's having a period, but she's going to be seen as if she's lazy and all the other words and all the other thoughts. I don't know, maybe Zelda, what do you think?
Well, I think this also comes down to households, and then if you want to hone it down, cultures. But I mean, in many households of friends and family I know, things were not spoken about. Periods, sex, reproduction, all these things. So I can only imagine these girls, these young girls, they have no one to talk to, or they have many responsibilities, like you say. A lot of children, girls especially in South Africa, are the head of their household at 10 or 12 years old, and they've got younger siblings to look after, or, there's so many different situations. And if you actually take a moment to think about what she must be going through, because there's no one to help her, and all the stigmas and everything. I mean, you will know, like you said, the name calling and all that stuff. It's actually heartbreaking to think about it, because us as women, we do not ask for our periods, and we definitely do not ask to have these type of illnesses, but it's a reality. And then that makes me think, but what can we do? And obviously discussions like these are really important, but I think us as women, it's our responsibility to speak to the younger generation, to speak to younger girls, either our daughters or nieces, or you know, um, that they can have a safe space to speak about and do what we can to help. Can you imagine being 11 years old and you've got this excruciating pain, probably do not even have access to proper sanitary pads, and proper hygiene, and you have to live with it. It's actually heartbreaking. Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, and I was actually thinking while we are on that point, right, that there are a lot of factors that we probably might need to explore or think about, but the fact that we don't know about it and it's not spoken about,
Yes.
is loud enough to know that actually people are ignorant that this exists. So if us as adults, we are ignorant that it exists, how can we educate the younger ones? So really the key is speaking about it is going to help the next girl or the next woman or the next whoever, but we have to speak about it. And then also thinking about, can you imagine in the workplace, how many, well, I'm going to be honest, while we are saying 1 in every 10 women could experience this endometriosis, but really, I as an employer would never had any woman in my lifetime talk to me about their endometriosis. So does it mean that all the women and the people that I know, nobody has it? No. So we really have to think about why is it not spoken about? And that's going to be my next slide. Why is it that these things are not spoken about, yet they impact the woman? So actually growing up, I couldn't even remember or seeing an aunt or a sister or anybody who said, oh, today I can't do the cooking because I'm in so much pain, I'm not well, and I have this problem. It's persistent and constant every month. I don't have that awareness. I'm only learning and having this awareness now when I've started doing this work. You get my point?
Yes, and you speak to your friends or family and they tell my periods are extremely painful, and they can hardly walk. I have a friend who says that her legs actually get numb from the pain, and she a lot of times has to put in a sick day at work. And then she thinks, okay, but what's wrong with me? Or maybe she doesn't think anything is wrong and it's normal. But at the same time, when you start looking at all these symptoms and you start getting all the information, it's something like you really maybe need to see someone just to make sure that everything is okay. And I think as women, have we been made used to feeling so much pain? Are we just used to just carrying on, So no, we have to speak about these things and educate other people. And I think also create a safe space. I mean, to create an atmosphere where you've maybe got an open door policy and tell the ladies if there's anything you need to speak about that's affecting your work or I can help with, speak to them. Because looking after your employers is in any way is going to grow your business. Because then we can actually do something and not just speak about it.
Absolutely. So it's taken me to my next slide anyway, which I'm gonna again present. And we can see that why is it not spoken about? And that's the topic I wanted to bring. That's the topic I wanted to bring. Why is it these things are not spoken about? I just want us to pause again and talk about it. Why are these things not spoken about? And somebody on the chat is saying, it's so taboo to talk about period pains, and some women are not empathetic to women who have endometriosis. This is somebody commenting on the chat. And so I have kind of put these points: societal stigma, rejection, fear, judgment, and culture. And maybe for us to break them down, these topics. So societal stigma, and if we want to look at societal stigma point, I'm just going to link it back to the symptoms, to the problems that this condition causes. So we have said that this condition will cause you to be in pain every month, of excruciating pain, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you cannot be telling people that, you know what, I have this pain every month, and people are going to be tracking your calendar, like, you know, like.
And also, and I just had this thought, can you imagine what it does to your emotional well-being and also your mood?
Yeah,
I mean, hormones play a huge role, regardless if you have endometriosis or not. So if you're in so much pain, your hormones and everything, I don't think it's, you're not going to be able to function at your best when you're going through all of this, and people don't understand why, and they might just jump to conclusions, like you said,
absolutely.
lazy, or drama queen and all these things, and that's really unfair.
Absolutely. But again, if we flip the coin, they don't know what you're going through.
Yeah.
For sure, they are going to think you're a drama queen, because who does that? You know, that's how society looks at it, isn't it? Who does that? Who has this, like I bet in the workplace, people will be like, wait for it. It's going to be next month, next week, right? Wait for it. She's going to take time off, like, you know. But because maybe they don't understand what you're going through, how can they support you? So
But at the same time, if you yourself do not understand it fully,
absolutely.
so I think it really just comes down to that self-education and self-awareness, and us as women standing up and saying, you know what, regardless of what other people think or say or my fears, I need to look after myself, and I need to find out what's going on with any health issue. Because I think it's sometimes easier just to say, this is the way it is, let me carry on, I'm a strong woman, I'm the provider, or whatever it is, and then we don't look after ourselves. So we need to get the word out there to tell women, you need to take care of yourself, you need to look after yourself, educate yourself, get yourself well, and then use that as a weapon for good, not for bad, and help other women along the way.
Absolutely. And I'm gonna so we say societal stigma, rejection, fear, judgment, culture. And I was gonna just as well just stop sharing for a moment and bring us back, because I want to go into the chat here and see what our audience are saying. So we have got an audience. Somebody says, I have endometriosis, and lately I have really been struggling with an increase of symptoms, at the same time feeling the need to try and defend my behavior and excuses for things. I feel like everyone expects us to be as productive as everyone else, because we all have the same amount of time in a day. But in reality, we have far less time to be productive, because endo can compromise so much of your energy. I totally agree with you.
Wow.
Because in my research, I actually realized that endometriosis has got no timetable. It's a continuous problem. That's on you, because it's playing on your hormones, like you said, Zelda. It's playing on your well-being and self-esteem. So as your hormones are going up and down in the body, so is the endometriosis responding. So as you do that, you actually never gonna have like 100% normal. But I think the best way to respond to it is to be aware that you have it.
Yes.
And then manage the symptoms and be educated and educate yourself and seek the help that you need, so you are able to manage those symptoms and at least have some kind of normalcy added to your life. But really, it's something that you're going to be living with, but you just need how to manage. So really interesting to hear from someone who's actually living that.
Sorry, I really sympathize. I think, thank you for sharing, the lady who commented that, and the fact that it's getting worse. For us that don't necessarily have it ourselves, we don't understand. But when we hear that, it's actually heart-wrenching, because it's not something you can just discuss with your coworkers or anything like that. So I think that the mental challenges are very real, and we hear you, and we're here. And sometimes just having someone to speak to really does help, just to get it off your chest. And I really hope that more women will feel comfortable enough to speak about it, and then together we can.
Yeah. I wanted to say that thank you so much as well, for the lady that shared. She also put another comment to say, the other thing, your pain and your fatigue and other symptoms can be so irregular and unpredictable that other people can't keep up.
Wow,
isn't it?
And the thing is, I think it sounds to me like this lady is very concerned about how it's affecting other people, and the impact it has and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, you are the one that's going through it. How are you coping with your plans? I mean, if you make arrangements and plans and you want to do things and you don't know how your pain levels are going to be, I think that's even more important than what other people's reactions are, because yes, it's not nice, and obviously you are a very compassionate person. You sound like you really care about others. But we hear that you are going through it as well, and that's important. It's important that you know that we hear you, and we can try to understand.
Absolutely. And I think just the courage, like I was saying, that's absolutely amazing. The courage for somebody to come on the conversation and share that,
Yes.
I'm here, I'm experiencing that. That's huge, because the biggest barrier that we have is women accepting that, I have this condition and I'm okay. Yes. And I'm owning my story, because the minute you own the story, you have empowered yourself to be in control. Yes. And you will be okay to say no when it's time to say no. You'll be okay to say yes when it's time to say yes. So I think, well done to you. You have managed to take that piece and you run with it and say, right, that's it. I'm going to own my health, because that's the most important part. So I want to come back to the social stigma. I want to drill down that point. So we spoke about that, people are judged and people are afraid to share. You know why? The women I've spoken to, they say that, and I'm going to bring one of the comments on the slide later on in a few minutes, that, like we said, the endometriosis affects women and girls, and some of the girls starts when you start your period, that's it, it's with you. So by the time you become a bigger girl and you go to university or to school, and then you think about having a boyfriend or having partners or having relationships, but this thing lives with you, remember, it's with you all the time. And then when it's time to maybe try and have a family, or even when you get married, so let's talk about our African cultures where there is a higher expectation of a woman when she's married or she joins a new family. This woman has got problems that are internal, that she can't even speak to her in-laws or those around it. She can't even probably speak to her partner about, because she's afraid that...
Can I ask you, what expectations? You said that as an African woman, you've got higher expectations once you marry into a family. Sorry that I'm a bit off topic, but I'd like to know, in which sense do you mean?
Okay, so again, I guess in African cultures, when you get married, you have got your daughter-in-law roles to play. So being a daughter-in-law means that, I'll give my example. When I got married proper African traditional way, where I have to be taken to my husband's family, and I have to wake up very early in the morning, do the washing and the cooking and everyone, and automatically you become a mom to everybody around the home. And so playing that role, some people it comes natural, some people it doesn't. But if you've got these conditions, and let's say, for example, by the time you are going to play your daughter-in-law role, you are on your period. Well, you are going to be in pain. You are not going to be happy. But who cares? Who cares how you are feeling right now? This is what I'm saying, that it's very complex, because society does not give room to anybody with these problems. You must be a perfect wife. You must be a perfect daughter-in-law. You must be, and when you get married, you must be sexually active, and you must perform correctly, and you must suddenly have children. It's a must. Society has put all these must things.
That's a lot of pressure.
Qualifies you.
That is a lot of pressure, especially, I mean, if you've got endometriosis and you have to do all of these things and you're in pain, like physical pain. I can't even imagine. I can't. That's very, I can only imagine how difficult and impossible.
Absolutely. And yet the topic is not spoken about. So like I'm saying to you, all these years, I've never heard people openly speak about these things, to say, no, actually, you know what, we have got this new person joining the family, or we've got this sister, we've got this aunt who's joining the family, but please, let's be kind, because let's support them because of 1, 2, 3. No, it's a no-go area. So you just suffer alone, but you are supposed to pretend and look normal all the time. and when you are suffering with the condition, well, I would want to know, I'd be interested to know people on the live who are supporting us or watching, to tell us how they have kind of, have they ever thought that the women in their lives have got women issues or not? Because it's, you know what I mean? It's,
if it affects you so much that you look like you are angry all the time, or you're not speaking to anyone, or you aren't wanting to socialize with anyone, then people will automatically assume, but this woman, she thinks she's too good for us, or, you know, she's a drama queen and all the other words that go along with it. But meantime, she's going through pain and she's just trying to survive. And I think that is also, it affects relationships, because obviously your relationship with your husband, and especially your new parents-in-law, it's so important. But how do you build a healthy relationship and an open relationship when you physically, wow, that's something I never ever thought about ever.
Yeah, and because you can't talk about it openly, maybe you are not even comfortable to let any of them know. So you yourself, you're not even sure whether you should let them know. So you kind of just live with it yourself.
Yes.
It's something that is known to you, and you just learn to live with it and pretend. And this is the thing.
So you have a fear of what you're going through, and then a fear of what other people are going to think or how they're going to react. It seems like an impossible situation, but I believe through education and empowerment and women standing up, because if one woman stands up and says, this is me, this is what I'm going through, that might inspire someone else to do the same, and start like a dialogue between families and friends. And that's the only thing I can think of in a practical way.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it is very interesting topic that we wish our societies can accept, and if society can allow us to have these kind of conversations, then we will be good. Then it will be a better place to be in, right? As women, let's live more fulfilling lives. Let's not feel judged. Let's not be afraid that we have this condition. So, you know, what people are going to say. And let's not feel that we owe it to people to tell them, you know, why I have got this weight or why I'm going through. You don't have to justify yourself to anybody. You know, you just really need to be comfortable with you and just live this life, you know. You don't owe it to anyone. You don't have to explain yourself. If you've been away for a while, you don't have to explain why you've been away. If you're going through something, communicate it. Let those around you know. If anybody around you is going to judge you, don't take the judgment on yourself. Let them deal with it. Don't own any judgment. Just really accept what you're going through. But the key thing is do something about it. Be supported, because there are support networks. For endometriosis, actually in the UK, there's endometriosis.org. They do a lot of work around this topic. And there are loads of organizations in different countries doing different things. But don't die and suffer in silence, because at the end of the day, we can only know what you're going through if you communicate it with us. And we will be more than happy to support. So yeah, so thank you so much for everyone who joined. I'm going to check the chat. Zelda, do you want to add more to what I've said?
No, I think you've ended it up. I've finished it off beautifully. And it just ladies, make that decision to put yourself first. It's so important, and every day, regardless of how you feel, and go look at Checkup Health. Really, the work that Fungai and her team are doing is amazing, and it's remote, so it's private, and there's so much information and help out there.
If you feel stirred or whatever, we are going through these issues, and these issues are real, but let's own them and let's not judge. You know, I know in our cultures, if somebody fails to have a baby, you know what, they must go. It's the woman's problem. That's a topic for another day. So we will probably come back and have different topics. But so thank you so much, guys, for joining us. Thank you, Zelda. Have a good evening.
Thank you. You too.